Hi chaps, and indeed chapesses, and if you are a chapess, you are doubly welcome to Porsche Files. Uncomfortably close to the word paedophiles apparently, but if you were on Tinternet and looking for the other thing, then go away. This is about all things Porsche, the three C's basically: the cars, the company and the culture. And if you can think of a fourth C, probably that as well. Anyway, what you're probably asking yourselves, why are we in a kitchen? Why aren't we watching a very poor man's version of Chris Harris opposite locker Porsche 991.2 Turbo S around Kyalami, for example? In my case, very badly if ever I did it. Then, well, because we can't afford to do so. And this is really, at the end of the day, it's Nerd's Corner. It's a video log. It's not a channel. It's basically for people who are predominantly 911 nerds. We'll do stuff on probably Panameras, probably. But it's going to be mainly 911 and anything that's got a GT tagged onto the back of the car. So, shall we crack on? You've obviously seen the title of the, and this is an extension, if you like, of the kitchen is kind of connected to. We've got 2 cups of tea here, hence the title. You know, how to make a better cup of Carrera tea. And being English, we certainly know how to make a cup of tea. So we got the, it's empty, folks. This one isn't. Excuse me. So this is your Zuffenhausen Carrera T, your Zuffenhausen cup of tea, and this is a, forgive the chips, slightly different colour scheme from the traditional, but nonetheless you've got the prop there for your British cup of Carrera tea. Now, why are we discussing it? Well, Carrera T really is a bit of an historical moment, and I'm going to be talking about production series cars here. I know the last, probably, I can't think they're going to be doing anything else that remotely looks like a 991.2 before the 992 arrives. So I know that there's a Speedster as well, but that's the Preuninger cars. They're the VIP cars, if you like. VIP these days, not standing for very important person, but valuable important person. I mock not, or possibly I do. Anyway, we'll do something about the whole supply situation of GT cars in the UK, probably at a later date. Normally I have a second talking heads here with me. That's Ed. He's on holiday. Everyone's on holiday other than me. There you go. Such is life. Okay, so why are we doing the 991.2 Carrera T as a video? Well, it marks, or it embodies, a very important moment in 911 development in many ways. Yes, it's a bi-turbo, it's the dreaded turbo, but it's still a fossil fuel car, and there's no hybridity, there's no electrification of the car, which we're going to get in 992, definitely. Whether it's 992.1 or 992.2, as the next generation, the new generation of 992, you're going to see electrification of some kind, and probably it's going to be great, because if you're going to have a bi-turbo engine, then, as Mercedes has shown recently with its, I can never remember, they've got so many models, haven't they? But the thing, is it the 53? But basically it's an inline 6. Who'd have thunk it? Mercedes-Benz going back to inline 6s with a puffing turbo, effectively gases-driven turbo, as we all know and love, and also an electricity-driven turbo, an electronic turbo, whatever you want to call it, as well, providing instant response. Suddenly, no more turbo lag, one hopes. So if that's where we're going to go with 992, great. It's going to be therefore even faster, even torquier, and still will hopefully rev out. We'll do also, talking about revving out the 991.2, the bi-turbo engine actually in the Carrera, because of its smaller turbos, is frankly better. Discuss, answers on the postcard. If you got any comments, then you know where to put them, in the nicest possible way, of course. Right, so let's get on to making a proper cup of Carrera tea. If you speak to any aficionado, well, certainly that we know, and we know quite a few people in the trade, and you know, people have just bought members of clubs, they go do lots of meets, piston head meets, and the Brands Hatch thing for the 70th recently. And forgive me, this is a bit UK-centric, guys, but it applies also to many other global markets, I'm sure, around the world, Porsche global markets, that is. But if you speak to Porsche aficionados, etc., when you say Carrera T, you don't even have to ask a question, but just Carrera T, question mark kind of thing. You see this, it was a bit like when Christian Horner was asked about losing Renault power for Red Bull next season in F1. And I don't know whether you saw it on Channel 4, but there was this quizzical look. And then after about what seemed an eternity, about 10 seconds, he said, "The Renault Twizy?" That's the kind of look that you get when you say Carrera T to aficionados. Because there's this look of befuddlement. It's confusing, a bit bewildering. What was it supposed to be doing? It's not an incremental car like Carrera S, GTS, in terms of PS and Newton meter, torque, etc. Torques, as the Clarkson calls it. It's It's a tangential car. Although this was on Drive Tribe recently. August, is that how you pronounce it? Achleitner. Forgive my German pronunciation. Who's head engineer or head project engineer, team leader, project leader for 992, said, because he has, or certainly has spent a lot of time in a Carrera T 991.2, he says there's going to be a T in a 992. That's going to be interesting because the 992, which is a bit of a shock horror, is apparently going to be wide-bodied only. Now, that's it says a lot about the socio-demographic, doesn't it, for 911 buyers, that now it's wide-bodied only. There are zillions of people. I actually had to get my garage widened, 90s built garage, unfortunately, to get my narrow-bodied 991.2 in with a degree of comfort, a bit of sneeze factor. So God knows what's the turbo going to look like? The daddy turbo, the 3.8 litre classic turbo in 992 going to look. It's going to be wider than an Aventador at this rate. Anyway, should we get back to our knitting? How to make a proper cup of Carrera T. Now, why I'm bothering to do this in the first place is because Porsche probably are going to be hung by their own petard a bit by their marketing material that they put out. They keep on using this word, for example, of puristic. I suspect that's more of a translation from the German because us Brits don't normally use the word puristic. We just say pure. It's a pure driving experience or purer driving experience or a driving experience for the purist. I suspect it comes from the German use of this word puristisch. Forgive the pronunciation, as I said, or puristische if it's feminine. I don't know. Anyway. And that clearly states that it's the adjective of the word purist. So if you are a purist and you can't get a GT car for various reasons which we won't go into now, then you're going to have a production series car. And a production series car that's for the purist is the 911T. It's in the marketing material. It's the shtick of the Carrera T. You're a purist. Yes, I am. I'm buying a production series car. There you go. There it is. Carrera T manual. There's your purist car, sir, being a purist. Now, this led us on to, well, why is it now rather confusing? Because, and this is the illustration. And I'm going to use the Carrera as a control. First of all, if you go onto the configurator, even now, and you build yourself a 991.2, beg your pardon, and you do nothing, it defaults to white. And by the way, Porsche, why are you getting rid of the names of colours? What happened to Basalt Black? Now it's just black. What happened to Grand Prix White? Now it's just white. Or Carrera White. What happened? Anyway, let's have a bit of romanticism back in the colours. So if you don't do anything, you tick no box on a Carrera, you drive out of Zuffenhausen, off the production line, you drive out in a Carrera manual in white. Now that DIN-rated Deutsche Industrie Norma wet weight is 1,430 kilos, 1,430 kilos. Do exactly the same with the Carrera T, which you can get the Zuffenhausen version. Get in white, of course. Don't tick any of the boxes, including the PCM box unticked and the back seats unticked, even though you pay for them. There you go. Nice little trick there, Porsche. If you do that, this car weighs 1425 kilos, 5 kilos saved. So you then put a typical 99 percentile Roman driver in your Carrera and a 99% percentile Chicagoan driver and put him in your Carrera T, and guess which of the two cups of tea are heavier already. And this is no disrespect to Americans. Americans are just bigger, taller, big guys. You know. So 5 kilos, frankly, is neither here nor there. And that's, I believe, why they called it the T and not what I was hoping for, the Carrera or 911L. L being for leicht or light. That would have been a hostage to fortune, wouldn't it? So what we're going to do first of all is now make this very simple recipe, or give you the recipe. I always wanted to say it. Here's one I prepared earlier for our Carrera T. So we take a Carrera 1430. We take the only component that's actually a very good idea from the Carrera T. And let's face it, it comes from the daddy of them all, the GT2 RS. So why wouldn't you use Gorilla Glass? Great idea, we love that. High centre of gravity, you want to lose weight at high centre of gravity, do you not? Rather than mess about putting a magnesium roof on at vast cost and saving yourself a few grams, glass, very heavy substance. I suspect, I'm no metallurgist, but I suspect that glass per volume weighs more than steel. So getting rid of glass is great, and this idea appeals hugely to us Brits because we've all supped from the bowl of wisdom of Colin Chapman, often with a very long spoon, of course, just adding lightness. His classic mantra has been serving the Formula One community for decades, and quite right too. You can't beat physics. So Gorilla Glass, great idea. Take component A out. Put component B in, which is an equivalent substitute, and you save yourself, in the case of Gorilla Glass, some people say 8 kilos, but I'm going to be conservative and say 7 kilos. So good idea. Now this is where the logic with the Zuffenhausen Carrera T just went astray, because it started, which is good, and then stopped. What other component is on the Carrera T, the Zuffenhausen Carrera T, that just adds lightness? Is the PSE lighter than the standard Carrera exhaust system? I'm not sure it is. It may even be a little bit heavier. Or maybe lopping, 20 to 21 mil, less than an inch off the gear stick on the manual. Maybe that saves a few grams. Come on, guys. So where's the logical journey continuing from the Gorilla Glass? Well, it starts and it just stops. But we're not going to stop. We're going to then take our Carrera, which is already 7 kilos lighter, so we drop from 1430 to 1423, and we're going to go to the next logical area where you would like to lose a little bit of weight. Oh, and by the way, if you say, oh no, I'm not having the Gorilla Glass on my Carrera T because I want the heated window or I want tints, why would you put tints on what is the most iconic, I believe the designers call it daylight opening, side profile of window? I know not. Why would you want to do that? Or I must have the rear wiper. If you want all of those things, get a Carrera S, because the Carrera T is not for you. Get a Carrera S, probably 4S, because if you're want to clear off rain and protect yourself and all that kind of stuff, get yourself a 4S, PDK. You're far better off. Anyway, controversial there. So let's get to the unsprung weight. This is an area which is the next logical step. So what we're going to do now is not put 20-inch wheels and certainly not shonky cast flow 20-inch alloys on. We're going to, as Herr Porsche, Dr. Porsche, we're going to ring up any number of suppliers in Northern Italy, because it tends to be in Northern Italy, Even the 19-inch Carrera wheels on the 991.2 are actually made in Italy, probably under license with BBS. I don't know who the actual supplier is, but it'd be someone like BBS or OZ. I can't think of anything else. Anyway, you're going to ring up as Herr Porsche and say, look, I'd like to buy, and what are we looking at? 2,500 in left-hand and right-hand drive Carrera Ts that have left the factory in total, somewhere along those lines. It can't be much more than that. So what's that? That's less than 10% of total annual production. And so with with spare wheels as well, to keep at the factory, you're looking at what? 2.5 times 4, 10, 11,000 wheels, split front rear, of course. 8.5J and whatever they are, 11.5J at the back. You ring up OZ, I'd like 11,000 wheels. It's not really very big, is it? And I want a different style, by the way. Oh, it's just no, it's not. No. I'd like them forged. Ah, now you're talking. 11,000 forged alloy wheels. Super light, please, if you don't mind. Super forgiati, super leggeri. Yeah, we'd like that. Okay, well, we can do that. Yeah, if it's forged, we'll do that. So here we have then a 19-inch forged alloy wheel with a 19-inch tyre, and by definition, a 19-inch tyre, 295 at the rear, for example, rather than 305 on a 20-inch, is lighter. So lighter tyre, lighter wheel, smaller wheel. Suddenly that, compared to a 20-inch cast flow, okay, but it's not super high tech, is it? Cast flow with a 305 section rear tyre. That alone across the rear axle will save you 10 kilos. And slightly smaller wheel, we're going to estimate it around about 8 kilos at the front. So suddenly we've got 18 kilos saved just with a wheel and tyre combination. And frankly, 19-inch is as large as you want to go. There are some people in the wheel trade who actually think 18-inch is the optimum size of wheel to give you, ride, grip, good handling resolution, that balance. So we've got our 19-inch forged alloy wheels on 19-inch tyres. That's all well and good. And we've got our 18 kilo saving. But we're not going to stop there because this is end of school term. This is the 991.2 last of the variants. This is an historic moment. This is the end of 991 production / 1.2 as we know it. Why can't we have a bit of a celebration? So what I'm going to do on our Carrera T is, which is again a logical extension of unsprung weight, is we're going to offer PCCBs instead of paying, what is it, 6,100, 6,200 pounds sterling at the moment. We're going to do ein packet of brakes, wheels, and I was going to say tyres, but the tyres are basically standard fare. They're nothing special. They're just 19-inch, which you'd have on the Carrera if you don't spec up to option up to the 20-inch wheel. But that's what we're going to do. And I think if you have PCCBs, again being conservative, that's going to save you another 1.5 kilos per corner, about 6 kilos a car. So if we have PCCBs, 19-inch forged alloys, and the tyres to go, then we have 18 kilo saving on tyres and wheels, about 6 kilo saving around the car, or 1.5 per corner. So 6 and 18, it's 24. If you then take that off of our 1423, because we've lost the 7 kilos on the glass, we are now under the magic number. We are now 13XX. We are 1399 kilos wet weight. And I firmly believe that there should be at least one 991, whether it's a GT car or whether it's production series car, that should be under the 1400 kilos, DIN rated. Last time I looked, the lightest of 991s was the 991.2 GT3 with the manual gearbox, which tops out around about 14.7. I can never quite remember. It's either 14, 17, 14, 13 kilos. So suddenly you've got a 991.2 production car that's really attractive. It's historic. It is the lightest of all the 991s. That's an attraction, is it not? But we're not going to stop there. And in terms of pricing, you know, in terms of the resourcing capabilities of Porsche, if they were to put PCCBs on, buy the forged OEM wheels in, and put the tyres on, whatever they're going to be, minor. They were going to be Dunlops, but I think they're Bridgestone, I think. But anyway, that combination, what's that going to cost them? I think they could pump it out for 12k sterling max, possibly a bit less, as a celebratory gift to our loyal and long-suffering non-GT acquiring standard 911 owners. So I don't think it would add a huge amount of cost, particularly when you're starting out at a relatively low base. But I'm not going to stop there. So we've got 1399 kilos compared to our 1425 kilos here. But no. We're going to just got one more logical extension to all of this before we get into the decontenting way of losing weight, which is somewhat different from our Colin Chapman way of doing things. And that is that at vast expense, probably about £1,800, possibly a bit less, depending on how generous Porsche AG, and they're known for their generosity, aren't they? But particularly now they've got to pay for all of the fines coming into, what the latest one is it 700 million euro to Audi? Anyway, what we're going to do is provide a lithium-ion battery. Okay, well, probably, I would make it compulsory, but we'll put it on the options. But there you go. Lithium-ion battery would save you, and this is it's unbelievable saving about 10 kilos on battery weight. For example, BMW's M Parts Component Division, who have recently made a slew of bits and bobs for their M2s and 3s and 4s, they quoted that on the M2, now this may reflect a degree on the relatively lowly technology that they're using for their standard batteries. But they're saying that with the M2, or the M component part battery, lithium ion, compared to the current battery in the M2, it saves, when I read this, I thought, this can't be right, can't believe that. But it saves 14 kilos. I'm just going to check my mic, by the way, folks. Yes, it is, okay. 14 kilos? So I'm going to be conservative, I'm going to say 10 kilos. So I'm going to put a lithium-ion battery onto my Carrera T because we are building the last 991 production purist car, are we not? So we can spare a little bit of money for that. You don't go and buy a load of other shizzle. You don't need 14-way seats and all the other bits and bobs, or indeed a rear window wiper, or tints, or a heated window. So there you have it. That's another kilo, 10 kilos coming off. 1399 becomes 1389. But I'm not going to stop there. Now I'm going to get into the classic way of losing weight. I'm just going to decontent the thing. So instead of charging you for, in our Carrera T, instead of charging you for PCM and for rear seats, and you can then sort of opt in or opt out, we're not going to charge you for them, but we're going to take them out. And we're going to put them on the options list at a cost. So if you want just the PCM because you must have your Apple CarPlay or whatever else it is, then you can tick the box, pay the money, whatever it's going to be. Could it be £1,000? Could it be less? I don't know. I don't frankly care. I wouldn't bother. If I want sat-nav, I'd have TomTom. And how much music do I listen in the car? Would I upgrade it to have Bose or Burmester in a T with a manual? But I frankly wouldn't bother. But if you want it, tick it. And if you want the rear seats, tick that as well. But I'm not going to. So on our Carrera T now, we've not only lost weight in terms of glass, brakes, wheels and tyres, we're going to lose weight, and indeed battery, we're going to lose weight on not giving you stuff. And I reckon that PCM and rear seats combined probably about 10 kilos. It might be a shade less than that, I suspect. But for ease of arithmetics, we're going to say 10 kilos. So then you're not at 1389, you're at 1379. So right about 1380 kilos DIN rated. Now, that's getting to the kind of wet weight that McLaren are quoting, or I should say more accurately, that McLaren are not quoting, because they always quote dry weights. Why do manufacturers? McLaren is the meister at quoting dry weights. What? We're going to drive a 570S without oil then, and fuel, are we? And coolant. Nonetheless, 1380 becomes extremely attractive. Then you have, as I've already said, the lightest, but by the lightest 991 historically by some margin. Then you've got to question yourself. If you've just lost, in this case, 50 kilos, I mean, that's substantial. And you're losing them in all the right areas: high level of centre of gravity, unsprung weight, battery isn't obviously, but nonetheless, you're losing this weight. And as far as I'm concerned, that 50 kilos means that, do you really need to have, because Porsche, they're not giving you more power because they think, quite rightly, that 370 PS in that Carrera is more than enough. And unless you're doing a commute from, you live in Nuremberg and you go to your office in Munich, oh, what a brilliant road that is. Unless you're doing that, do you need more power? I suspect not. You may want better response. Who doesn't want better response on a car with a turbo? There's always the need for better response, given just the nature of how turbocharging works in terms of it being slightly downstream of the ignition process and the exhaust process. That will change, of course, with I'm hoping, I'm thinking will change with electric turbos. But at the moment, other than that, you don't need more power. Why then do we have to have the final drive ratio of the Carrera S 991.2 on the T? That I really do not get. Why? Because to me it's an anti-Porsche idea. If you look at the 0 to 60 times, and I know 0 to 60 times aren't the final arbiter of all things, of response and power, etc. But that drops, or improves if you like, by 2%. If you take a manual Carrera T, there's about 2% improvement in 0 to 60 time. However, there is just a tad over 13% degradation in emissions/fuel consumption. Now, that's great, those two figures, if they're the other way around. Porsche normally makes a very incisive, well-focused investment into somewhere to create a big payback downstream. Not the other way around. That's not Porsche to me. So, frankly, I'd leave the final drive ratio off. In many ways, a slight digression. That I didn't know about the final drive ratio on the Carrera S until the Carrera T came out. I thought that there was just 50 PS and 50 Newton meter gap, clear blue water between the Carrera, which was already generous. That's more than generous than historically, than historically speaking. But I didn't know that they not only created this clear blue water between the Carrera and the Carrera S in 991.2 with, probably because I didn't read the small print, but with the 50 PS and the 50 Newton meters extra, but they also felt obliged to give a final drive ratio, a lower final drive ratio on the Carrera S in order to create that clear blue space. I think that speaks volumes for how great that basic bi-turbo 370 PS engine is in the Carrera. I think in terms of drivetrain manual, if I had the choice between a Carrera S and a Carrera manual right now, although we're soon to be within in 992 territory, I'd choose the Carrera. It is, in terms of response, a better drivetrain, and 370 PS in that car is all you need, particularly if you had our Carrera T, because you'd be 50 kilograms lighter as well, which is substantial. Right, that's it. Couple of cosmetic things I'll do. I'll finish this before I go. Now, there's our Carrera T. It's probably going to, or our 911L, it's probably going to be more or less the same price as Porsche's Carrera T. I would put PSC, if you want PSC, frankly, ovoid with a big gap. If you want centrally exiting, proper PSE, they look like that. They don't look ovoid with that bit of plastic that's stuck in the middle. Watch Nick Murray's, really quite comprehensive slagging off of the PSE. PSE is great on dot 1. Dot 2, why'd you bother? People confuse sound quality with noise volume. They're not the same thing. You just get a lot of gas rush. Start up on PSE on dot 2 is a bit more meaty, I'll grant you that. But once you get up to 3000, 4000 and beyond, the induction sound in the cabin is purer without the PSE, in my humble opinion. Slightly controversial point. It's got nothing to do with this Carrera T or that Carrera T. Well, this Carrera T, I suspect, wouldn't have it. So, PSE on the options list. I wouldn't put it on there. You don't have to pay for it. If you want it, tick the box. PTV. Do you do much commuting up and down the Maiello and Furca and Stelvio Pass? Question mark. If you do, tick the box and get PTV. Same with rear steer. Great, but it's still on the options list, I believe, on Zuffenhausen's Carrera T anyway. Sports chrono. Yeah, fine. I would go for sports chrono on PDK. What do you get with it when you go for manual? Or you get a blip on a downshift. You can't do that yourself. That's it. Otherwise, you just get this analog, almost Maserati-esque carriage clock stuck on the dashboard, gathering dust. Do you ever use it with Race Logic kit, or just using your smartphone at race meets? I suspect application is relatively limited. So what is it there for? Just to say, hey, I've got sports chrono. What else? PASM Sport, which is effectively what it is. You get PASM on Carrera. Do you want PASM Sport? Well, I live west of London. It's affectionately called around here Pothole Central. I like a bit like Chris Harris. I like a bit of subtlety. I like the car to breathe a bit. I like a bit of steering feel. I also like, with 19-inch wheels, to rotate winter and summer tyres. Much easier to do on 19-inch than on 20s. So, frankly, why do you want a harder ride? Can you detect it? I suspect not. Lee Sibley of, I can never remember, Total 911, he's got 2 10-minute videos on YouTube driving up from south of France to GB's HQ in Reading. And his only really palpably perceived, can you say that, difference was that he quite liked the shorter gear lever. Well, we'll give you that. That's easy in production. You just plonk that one on, which is 20mm shorter than that one. That's easy to do. But all the rest, Sport Synchro, PTV, PASM Sport, PSE, if you want them, tick the box and you can add them to the car. I frankly wouldn't tick any of them. Okay, so that's that. Cosmetics, because I'm a generous kind of guy, could we not, Porsche, given that this is the historical last production variant of 991 before you go into the electrified future, could we not have a couple of special colours? Production colours. So you buy or you have a contract with Glasurit for umpteen tons of paint, so you don't have to, it's not like somebody going along and trying to plunder, asking for Giza grey or something like that, or aquamarine off a 356, where you have to rush into the archives. Just put the colour in, a bit like you've done with Miami and Lava, but choose 2 colours that people actually want to buy, because nobody buys Lava unless you have a GT3 RS and you've got plenty of black on, because Lava's got far too much white in. What are they thinking? If you want orange, let's have an orange. There is a Blüte Orange, I believe the Germans call it, tangerine. That's orange. Looks great on an A to F series. Can't we have that? Or just even signal orange or signal yellow, something like that. But no, we've got to choose from what is it, for 1,800 quid, just under 2K. We got to choose from Miami and Lava. Miami's gone down like a proverbial barrel of you-know-what on the east coast of America. Nick Murray, who comments on Porsche very regularly, says you can't give them away for love nor money. So no one's buying Miami Blue. No one is buying Lava. I've not seen Lava on anything other than a Pronio car. Go figure, as our American friends say. So why can't we have something like olive green? Now I know, but the best product placement for a car I've seen on television in the last decade, probably even more, is that G Series 911 going across the bridge between Sweden and Denmark, I think it is, on the bridge. It's obviously quite successful. 4 Series now. I think you probably get it in the States on HBO, etc. Lots of English-speaking markets. Well, you don't read, it's all subtitled anyway, so you get the Swedish and you just read the English. That's a fantastic product placement, and everyone's drooling over the thing. Partly to do with the car, but also partly to do with the colour as well. So can we not have 2 celebratory colours like olive green? And if you are a bit more, what Albert blue? Even if I'm not a blue person, but if you like blue, if you want to be safe, you can have aquamarine for 356, both in metallic and in flat. There you go. And then somebody walks past this 911 and they see, oh look, it's a narrow-bodied 991.2 in aquamarine. Oh, it's got OEM, and I've not seen those style of forged wheels on anything other than, it's not been on a GT3 or GT3 RS. It's got to be, therefore, a T. Correct, it's a T. Do you need a decal saying to the world that you've got a Carrera T? No. Put it on the options list. Do you need to leave the Carrera T at the back? No. Very simple. So what about that? I thought you were supposed to, Porsche AG, throwing a few crumbs off this 911 table, this essence of 911, through to the little people like us who were going to buy the Carrera T. And what happened? We get Miami and Lava. So everyone just defaults. The brave go to yellow, which is a pretty solid choice, and those that are in it for three years and want to be a bit safe, go and get GT Silver. In black, it's as boring as paint drying. So that's it. Oh, one last thing, when we're talking about cosmetics, interiors. To keep prices down, why can't we just have one interior? Sport Tex with the grey pinstripe? Because at the moment, and that's to keep things simple, because if you suddenly decide, you get it home and the wife then sees that you know, she's used to you having 911s and she sees you haven't put the rear seats in. She says, isn't the USP, darling, for one of the 911 is maximising the passenger cell space? That's why we've had to suffer this rear engine sticking out beyond the rear axle all the time to have more space. Why can't I get my mates in? Or we can't get our 11-year-old in because there's no rear seat. No, I'm not cooking for the next year unless the rear seats go back in. Okay, ring up your OPC. Can I have the rear seat put in? What have you got? Have you got grey, red, yellow? Have you got Alcantara? Have you got leather? It's just too confusing. So let's just have one production efficiency-friendly interior. Grey pinstripe in Sport Tex. You can put in the headrest your Carrera T emblem and on the armrest as well, and maybe even a little badge saying Carrera T. Still the black anodized trim, that's it. So it's very simple, it's purer. So we therefore have battery in no particular order, or glass, battery, brakes, wheels, tyres, a simple one interior only. Frankly, I'd like to take all the electrics out of the seats and the doors as well to reduce weight, but that's another story. But nice and simple. And then 2 celebratory colours for your Carrera T. That's, my friend, it's taking a bit of time, sorry about this, but that's how to make a proper cup of Carrera T. Not this one. Okay, you probably hate everything I've said, and I know I'm taking a bit of time saying it. Long-windedness is my middle name, but as I said, this is a channel just for ideas and words. It's not flash pictures, well, not yet, probably never will be. So that's it. If you want to make a comment, by all means, try and keep them clean and non-personal. If you disagree with it, great. You know, that's what we wanted to achieve, a bit of exchange with, not just between you and us, or me on my Todd in this particular case, but between yourselves as well. So that's why I think that not only is it an opportunity missed, but it is an historic opportunity missed. And I'm sad about that, because you know, the Carrera T, there's not a single 991.2, there's not a single 991 frankly. Maybe the Carrera in the .1, but that 3.4 litre engine was a bit challenged, I admit, on torque. But 991.2, there's not a single bad car. You know, they're all great cars. But T could have been so much more, because it's the end of an era, you know, before we go electrified. And surely they could have pushed the boat out a bit more and done it in a much simpler manner. Because if you go and look at currently UK's Porsche GB's official approved website, there's a lot of, and they were POA, there's now a lot of known, you know, priced up Carrera Ts. They're heavily overspec'd. It's a car that should be purer, hence the word puristic. It should be simpler, it should be lighter, and it should be more focused. And it's not at all. It's just optioned up. They're hovering, I'm sure, when the, and there's been some speculators in there, why they thought the Carrera T was going to be something that's going to perform like a poor man's GT3 is beyond me. And I think they've been really, really hoist by their own petard there, that they've made a mistake. Big time. But it's a car that needs to be kept simpler, purer. And I think even Henry Catchpole said in his piece, which is very good, way better than this, very sexily, I think, what is it? I can never keep up. He's on so many channels, this guy. But I think he was driving a Guards Road Carrera T up in Scotland and said, you know, on winter tyres, by the way. And, you know, he said, great car, you know, but could have been cheaper, could have been simpler, could have been more basic, could have been more essence of 911. And I completely agree with that. So there you go. May the hate begin. When we'll be back, I don't know. We'll be tackling some other Porsche related topic sometime, hopefully in the not too distant future. Other than that, thanks for watching, and drive safely. Thank you.